What's up, man? We on air. We on air. I got that boy Jarrell with me. Lee. You know how we get down, man. I did know that. We did be out here chilling.
As we come here to Joe Fridays tonight, we want to thank them for this special show on Wednesday night. We've had the prediction show the last couple of weeks, but we got a special tonight. We've got three of our starting Black Cats here with us to join us. And the first one we're going to be talking to tonight is Jaden Proctor. Jaden, this year's been pretty special to y'all. I've watched y'all boys grow up. What can you say this year has been a little different from the years past for you?
It's not much different from the past years. We just trying to change the culture around here. We just trying to win games, win as much as we can, get better every single game. Just do what we do.
So through your 3 years, Sandoval's been here 3 years. Through your 3 years, when he got here, you was a sophomore. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Have you seen a change in the program in those 3 years since Coach Sandoval's been here?
Yes, sir. I seen a big change. You know, my sophomore year we went to the playoffs. My junior year we missed out, and this year we're just hoping to get back to the playoffs. And through those 3 years, I've seen our team get more disciplined each year, and that just makes us a better team. And whichever team is the most disciplined team is going to win most of the time.
Well, it's been exciting this year. From the very first game against Cameron, I have noticed that I've done a lot of reading this year since I've moved back. Mexia was not expected to do much this year. Tell me what the big turnaround has been this year for everyone to have Mexia as the last team in district to now y'all sitting right now are number 2 in district. What's been the biggest change for that?
You know, every week we just try to go 1-0. That's it. You know, we just play hard every week, play every opponent the same. Nothing different. We just try to go 1-0, and that just gives us a chance to, you know, accomplish a goal one at a time.
So y'all, talking about goals, when y'all come into the season, I'm sure each of y'all, just like we did when we were cats, your dad was a cat, I was a cat. We had our personal goals, but our personal goals pretty much met team goals.
Mm-hmm.
Did y'all sit down at the first of the year and say, you know what, these people don't believe in us, but we believe in ourselves? And as any team will tell you, all that matters is the ones inside that locker room.
That's very true.
What was y'all's team goals to start the year out with?
You know, like Sandoval say, we just want to get better every week, go 1-0 every week, like I've been saying. That's just one goal. And we wanted to win a district championship. We were this close, but now we're just going to keep winning so we can secure our spot in the playoffs. That's another goal. And another goal would be to play on Thanksgiving, play during Thanksgiving break, and just keep playing each week.
Well, that's a pretty good goal. And from what I've watched this year, the one thing that's impressed me the most about y'all is each week y'all have gotten better. And it has been an honor to watch y'all this year.
Appreciate it.
Jaden, thank you for your time, and you can pass it to one of your other starters here. And this is Darrell Wiley. He's the starting running back for the Black Cats. If you can't tell or you don't know him, he's busted onto the scene the last 2 years. Darrell, I've coached you in the past. I've known you ever since you were little, like I have these two Black Cats. What's been special to you so far this year?
None. I just look to get better each week. I was out the whole year last year, so in the offseason I just trained to get better, bigger, stronger.
That year of sitting out, does it make you hungrier this year and moving forward? Because when you don't get to play and you get to watch your teammates out there playing, I've been in that position, and it hurts.
Yes, sir. It did hurt. I just have to keep my head up, come and work hard every day, get better, train hard, just be there for my brothers when I wasn't there to play.
Well, you've looked really good this year. What are some of your goals you had coming into the year? Is your goals pretty much team goals as well, or did you have some stuff that said, you know what, hey, last year I was out a little bit, I want to make it a full season this year to be my first goal, or was it just, hey, I want to come out and do what's best for the team?
It really is both. I want to do my part. I want to do whatever I can do to help the team out, you know. I just want what's best for us. I want us to succeed.
Well, last week we were playing over in Robinson, and you had 5 touchdowns with 42 carries, 292 yards. But what they don't put on that play is there was one play where I think you carried the whole team down the field. And I know what they were doing. They were trying to strip the ball from you.
Yes, sir.
But in plays like that where it's just like there's no space and you're able to break out, what's going through your mind during those plays when you look back and think, man, that was something I couldn't believe happened?
Really, it's just the line doing their job, open up their holes, let me get through there. And then I got the speed to get through there. And just the drills that I do at practice, I do those, and I succeed, you know.
Well, last week, the first quarter, those 1 and 2 yard runs, you were getting 1 or 2 yards, and midway, I guess probably about 3/4 way through the first quarter, going into the second quarter, that offensive line was pushing, and those 1 and 2 yard runs started turning into 5 and 6, 7 yard runs.
Yes, sir.
And then the rest of the game, it was just got bigger and bigger.
Yes, sir.
It's been awesome to watch you this year. I actually made a statement last week. Wiley hadn't broke one in the first quarter, and I be dang, the first of the second quarter, here we go, 80 yards, and it was just awesome to watch. It's been awesome to watch Jaden. He's exciting out there. The one thing that I see that y'all have as a team is y'all have so much speed.
Yes, sir.
And the one catalyst we're going to get to next is y'all have a little bit of height out there too. So with all that speed in the middle, when you're able to get to the height out there, y'all have a pretty good dynamic team, and it's been fun to watch y'all. And thank you for everything y'all done for us. Y'all got this city excited, and I think y'all are going to go deep.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Wiley, thank you for your time, and we'll get Mr. Harrison on here. Now we have senior Evan Harrison joining us here at the table. Last but not least, Evan, explain to me what it's been like for you this year.
Oh, it's been a new experience, you know. Last year, over the past few years, I haven't been able to play, you know, just coming out, hanging out with my boys, you know, just going as hard as we can.
Well, y'all all grown up together. Of course, you know, I have one that's a year behind y'all. And y'all all played together growing up. I guess Andrew left when he was 12, and I hadn't been around, but we've been back this year, and it's great to watch. I watch you on the outside, and you're able to body people out and go get the ball, but then you line up and you come inside. Give me a little, when they call that play in, what's more fun for you? Be outside and body someone up, or no, man, I got to get in here with these big uglies?
Oh, getting down there in the dirt, fun, you know. I just want to allow Joe to have some success, him or Jaden, you know, just blocking.
Well, it don't take much of a crack to get either one of these boys through there. They've really good this year. What are some of your goals you had coming in? You said you hadn't played the last couple of years. When you come in this year, 2-a-day starting, what were some of the goals that you had?
Just whatever they ask, I do. Just get there, do it.
Well, y'all have some good coaches, and they've done really well this year. I want to thank y'all for being out here. Does anybody got any parting shots they want to say?
Let me say something.
We got to get Proctor on here.
I say, I hope the city keeps supporting us. We're gonna keep putting on, and I just ask that y'all just come out this Friday, last home game, and come support us.
Oh, we'll be there, bud. Thank you, boys. And if y'all want to take your table, we'll get Coach Sandoval over here. Y'all got any? In the press box sometimes it's good to look out across there and see the enthusiasm when we have a big play. When I mean, we're just 1 or 2 plays away from being undefeated this year. Really, I mean, Cameron, we were right there with Cameron. They were in the top rank there, and then we had Malakoff on the ropes. I mean, it was just 1 or 2 plays.
Yeah, both those programs are really, really good programs. I mean, look at the history of each school and what they've done over the last 10, 15 years. They're good programs, and we're still in the early stages of our program, what we feel like. And they're good teams, you know. I'm not taking anything away from Yo or Malakoff or Conley. You know, those you're looking at Conley, one of the top-ranked teams in the state of Texas, undefeated, and then I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think Yo has one loss, and so does Malakoff. So our losses aren't bad losses. I think what we've done is we've gotten better from those losses, and I think that's ultimately the goal because hopefully here in a few weeks we're primed and ready.
Yeah, that's the one thing. You see a lot of teams come out, and fans want you to come out and blow the doors off of every visitor. But the main thing, especially in high school football, is to be gelling at the end of the season. And that's what I've watched y'all each game. And, yes, in the booth, if you listen, sometimes I've been in sports my whole life, and I'm like, why are we doing this? Why are we doing that? But I will say the last 2 games, you can see a big improvement of the kids and what you're asking them to do. And as Jason Garrett says, if we block it right and we do everything right, the play's going to look good. But y'all have really improved a lot.
There's a lot of times that people don't understand what we do and why we do it, and I would open my door to you and tell you to come on in, and I'll show you why. I mean, there's things that we can sit down and discuss. Sometimes it's easy as going, hey, they got 7 people in the box, so this is the deal. But again, everything has to have something that you rely on, and that's what you do, and that's who you are. Offensively, I think we've kind of found our identity a little bit. Defensively, we feel like we found our identity as well. So now it's about disguising those things and not giving them the same thing, because obviously if you come out and do the same thing over and over every week, it doesn't work that way. So we have to make small tweaks and adjustments to see what it becomes a chess match at some point.
Oh, for sure. I mean, the thing is I was earlier, we were talking about a little World Series tonight, and they were talking about the Astros were still lines from Washington. Washington changed a couple of things up, and now we got 7 games in this series. Football is the same way. We coaches get out there and we coach and coach, and if we don't change something here and there each game, then it's like they're ready for us. This week I was wanting to recognize you and say that I seen where you were Coach of the Week in 4A Division II, and congratulations on that.
Man, thank you. It has my name on it. That's it. I mean, and it goes back to the coaches. They do all the hard work, and people think that I'm trying to be humble or coach talk, but the reality is they really do all the work. I kind of get to say yes or no to some things, and then again, the kids are doing an awesome job of just playing well. I mean, we've beat a couple top 10 teams. We've played well with some other. And again, it's all. I got to give credit to Dr. Lyle Debuse and the school board of Mr. Benji Reed and their support.
we're gonna see how that shapes up and takes hold as Friday progresses.
Well, Denarius, thanks for joining us again. Last week we had an old boy with us that was upset Friday, and I think he was wrong on all of his. And I don't think he hit any of his upsets. But what do you have on this game, La Vega and Brownwood?
I got La Vega 48-14 over Brownwood.
I got a high-scoring game as well, and I believe the Pirates will be able to go down to Brownwood and give them their first loss of the year, and La Vega's going to pull this one out 42-35.
Oh yeah, that's a good little shootout right there, Jeremy.
La Vega's been in some shootouts this
Yeah.
year. I was really expecting them to have a lot more defense, but they have been in some shootouts this year.
Well, they're going to be tested, and their non-district schedule is pretty tough, and they play a lot of really good competition and teams that are going to be there towards the end of the playoff run, just like they expect to be every year. So they're going to be tested, even going in against a Brownwood team that I believe they're like number 8 in the state and they're undefeated. I still can't put my money against the Pirates.
I'm telling you. I mean, you look at La Vega, they played Argyle earlier in the year, and they play Argyle every year, and that score was 49-42. So, it's changed over the years. Back when we were in school, defense won championships, and now, man, it's basketball on turf.
Yeah. It's not just the 6-man schools
No.
that are scoring points like that nowadays. Everybody's getting out there. So if you can get a defense that can stop somebody and an offense that can score points, you're going to be in good shape.
Well, our next game we'll move to will be Stephenville versus Gatesville.
Well, I have Stephenville on top right in this one, 21-7. I think that score may be a little bit larger than that. But, just looking at a 2-touchdown difference in it, Gatesville has not been very good this year.
Oh, they
I hadn't been able to keep up with them much other than seeing scores throughout the weeks. But, they hadn't been able to put together anything solid and put up any big games to get a win. So I got to go with Stephenville in this one.
Yes, well, I also have to go with Stephenville 27-17 over Gatesville.
Stephenville played La Vega tough last week, even though La Vega had 12 players out. All 12 of those players will be back. So I got Stephenville pulling this one out 28-7. They're west than we are, so we don't see them teams very often. But the next few teams are more east for us, and this next one's a really big game. It's going to decide who's going to go as number 1 in their district, and that's going to be Diboll versus Franklin.
Yeah, and when I was looking at this one, it was one of those tough ones to pick from. We saw Franklin a little bit earlier in the season because we scrimmaged them. We know they're going to be well coached every year. We know that they're going to come out and be disciplined. They're going to run their offense, and they're going to do what they're supposed to do. But looking at Diboll, they're undefeated. They're one of the top teams ranked in the state. They're putting up a lot of points on the season. So I actually took Diboll in this one, 31-24.
I took Diboll 31-20 over Franklin.
Well, guys, I think Franklin playing at home this week, I'm going to take the upset. And what it is Diboll is ranked number 6 in state, and Franklin's 10 in state this week. So a top 10 is going to prevail, and since Franklin is playing at home, I'm taking Franklin to pull this one out 28-27 in the closing minutes.
Oh, yeah. I know it's going to be a good game, no matter who comes out on top.
No doubt.
Just looking at the way the two teams match up with each other, that's one. If you're not going to see your team play on Friday, you might want to slide on over to Franklin and catch that one.
For sure. Our next game, it's a playoff contention too. It's going to be Rusk versus Canton, and Rusk will be going to Canton this week.
Yeah, and looking at it, again, Russ has kind of been up and down, inconsistent. Canton hasn't really been all that great this year either, but I have Rusk on top 42-35.
I got Russ 28-17 over Canton.
And I have Rusk winning this one 31-30 over Canton in Canton. Now, guys, this next score,
I'll take a break.
we're going to do this one last score, and we'll take a break. But at this table, I think it'll be pretty unanimous on this next score. But, Freddie, do you want to put a score in on this Grosbeck game? I mean, do you want to say what the score might be or what you hope it might be? Freddie is taking Grosbeck 50-0 over McGregor this week.
You know what? You gotta love Freddie because just like we're gonna ride with our Black Cats every week. No matter what's going on, Freddie loves his goats. So.
I tell you what, we're going to need a break after this round.
So we have Grosbeck versus McGregor, and I'm a Black Cat. It's hard for me to ever go with the goats, but just looking at it, Grosbeck hasn't been great this year. McGregor's kind of been inconsistent as well, but I'm going with McGregor 28-14.
I'm going with McGregor 28-7 over the Goats.
Well, I'm going to go with McGregor 50-0. I'm going to be totally opposite of Freddie. Well, thank y'all. This is the first round of some high school scores. We're going to take a break and let our sponsors mention their names one more time.
Sports Network. Tonight's game is brought to you by Greer Time Media, Posey Napa Auto Park, Greer and Greer Mobile Detail, Mookie's Mesquite Patch Barbecue, Woodman Life Insurance, and Joe Fridays.
I want to welcome y'all back to Joe Fridays. I want to thank them for letting us have a prediction show in here tonight. We got through about 4 or 5 games there. Next score we are going to pick here is going to be Crockett versus Westwood.
Yeah, seen a little bit from Crockett. They have, Crockett's always got good athletes down there. It's like they breed them and they just reload. Looking at some of their scores from the season, they've been able to put up points on the board. I'm going to take Crockett in this one, and I'm going to go with a score of 42-20. Just 42-20 Bulldogs.
I'm also taking Crockett 35-10 over Westwood.
And I'll make that 3 for 3. I'm going to take Crockett over Westwood 35-28. This next game is going to be pretty exciting because Whitney's really played really well this year. However, number 1 Grandview is coming into Wildcat Stadium. And that's another one of them games we were talking about. If our team wasn't playing, it would be fun to go watch that game.
Yeah, I think of the teams that we have on this pick'em, if I was going to pick one to go to other than the Black Cats on Friday, I'd probably go to Whitney to see Grandview versus Whitney. We know Whitney's got an outstanding quarterback in the backfield, a great athlete, but Grandview's, they're coming in and they're loaded again. They're big. They're a solid team coming off of a state championship. I had to pick the Zebras, so I'm going with Grandview on top of Whitney, 35-21.
Going out on a limb here.
We got upset Saturday.
I'm going Whitney 17-14 over Grandview.
That'll be 17-14 2 minutes into that ball game. And nobody else will score the rest of the game, huh? No, I listened to some shows this week, and all they talk about Whitney's quarterback. He plays strong safety. Mm-hmm. He's a kickoff return, punt returner. He's the kicker. He's the quarterback. And they'll throw the ball to him. Yeah. And they say that he is one of the top talents around this area. However, the Zebras are coming to town. And I would like to see Whitney win that, but I'm going to pick Grandview 42-28. Grandview over Whitney.
Yeah, that's going to be another one of those good ones. That's one of those you wish somebody can record it for you so you can watch it later on because there's going to be some highlights in that game.
Maybe we get Freddie to go over there and camera roll that game, and we'll just call the Mexia game.
No, he's gonna go call that 50-0 Grosbeck win.
Yeah, Grosbeck game. Well, our next game on the docket here is going to be Tig versus Maypearl.
Yeah, Tiggs, our neighbors to the east, we got to see them earlier this season when they played the Black Hats. Not sure what's going on there. Heard there may be some injuries over there at Tig, but Maypearl, they really haven't impressed much this season. So I'm going to go with the Lions on top of Maypearl, 35-14.
Yes, I'm going with the Lions, 35-6 over Maypearl.
Well, last week I picked against Maypearl, and they shocked me. So, Tig, their starting running back, the green kid, his mom actually works for me, and he had surgery this past week, and he's out for the rest of the year. In fact, he'll be back for powerlifting. But that was their hoss, and I'm going to take Maypearl in this one, 35-28, since they're playing in Maypearl. The next one on the docket here, guys, we're getting into some of our smaller towns around us, and I was over in Wortham last night to watch Wortham play Martin volleyball. Wortham won. The girls won district last night, and they were really impressive. But what I was laughing about, I was talking to one of the coaches, and Dawson coaches had mentioned to them that they thought this was their year. Well, they can think that all they want. Their year is going to stop tomorrow night at Mart Panther Stadium, because I'm not saying they can't come in second, because Dawson turns around and plays Wortham the next week, and that'll decide who goes second and third. But I've got Mart blowing the brakes off Dawson 64-66, because don't think I didn't mention to some of the coaches in Mart today when I was over there messing around that Dawson thought this was their year. So
yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with you on that one, Jeremy. I don't know how confident they are over in Dawson. I haven't talked to anybody from over there, but I know what Mart seems to put on the field year in and year out, and I think anybody would be a little non-smart to be nice about it, to go against the Mart Panthers at any point in the district until something else changes and shakes up. I have Mart coming out on top 63-42.
Well, I must be drinking some of Dawson water then with the coaches. Because, I got an upset alert. I got Dawson 49-45 over Mart.
Mart ain't give up 49 points all year long together. Dawson's going to go in there and put 49 on at home?
Yes, I'm going to go with him. Dawson been scoring over 50 points.
I'm bringing a drug test next week.
Norris is all about the upsets tonight. He's ready to see one of these top teams go down.
On you last week. Well, our next game up on the docket, Wallace, is going to be Hubbard versus Wortham, playing it in Wortham.
Oh, we missed one.
Oh, I did miss one. It's going to be Frost versus Meridian. My bad.
Yeah, Denoris and I, we kind of looked at this game together a second ago. Meridian has scored 7 points total all season long. Maybe they'll have a breakout night Friday. I'm not sure, but if I was really a gambling man, I got to put my money on the Frost Polar Bears, and I'm going to go with Frost on top, coming out on top 21-7.
Yes, I got Frost over Meridian, 21-3.
No upset here?
No upset.
Well, I've got Frost pulling this one out 28-7. And then we'll get back to the game I mentioned here. Is Hubbard is visiting Wortham this week, and I was talking to Coach Coker last night at the game, and he was expecting this to be a really good game, and he said the boys were excited, that it was glad for his son's senior year to see the boys winning and see the program starting to turn around.
Yeah, especially when you have a school that's as close to us in here in Mexia as Wortham is. We know that Wortham's had some success here in the past. They've kind of been down over the past few years. But, every week it seems like we tune in or look up the scores, and, teams that you may not think they were going to come out on top of, Wortham's been putting it on them. And so, that's much praise to the coaching staff over in Wortham, and those kids are really getting in there and getting after it and coming out on Fridays and playing hard and getting wins. I actually have Wortham coming out on top 28-21 over Hubbard.
Yes, I got Wortham 27-24 over Hubbard.
Well, that'll make three of us, because I got Wortham pulling this one out 28-14. Now, Wallace, I always got to put us a couple of fun ones in here, because we like talking about six-man football.
Yeah.
And last week, Avalon played Coolidge, and
Got a
I,
big
I
upset.
picked Coolidge, and there was a huge upset. Well, this week they have Avalon in the top 10, and they're going to lonely old Penelope over there, and it may
Yeah.
not be looking good. And
Yeah, we talk about it, I think, every Friday about how these six-man games go, and this may be one that we see the mercy rule come out
Yes.
in. I have Avalon coming out on top, and I have them coming out on top 70-21.
Yes, I got Avalon coming on top 60-0.
well, I got 66-6, so I'm right in the middle of both of y'all. And the next one, Milford is host Coolidge.
That's going to be a good
And
one.
Milford's ranked number 5 in state. And, of course, Coolidge has played 2 top 10 teams this year, and they have beat them both.
Right. And there's not going to be any love lost between these two schools. They're perennial district rivals. They're usually at the top of their district year in, year out. So we're going to see probably a strongly contested game between Coolidge and Milford. I was looking at this one. This is another one that was hard for me to pick. I'm gonna give the edge to Milford simply because they're gonna be the home team this week. I think maybe their crowd gives them that little extra push, but I already know that Coolidge is going to travel well more than likely, and there'll be quite a good contingent from Coolidge over in Milford. But I'm going to say Milford on top, 63-56.
I was talking to some people from Coolidge earlier in the week. We were over there around Mookie's, and Coolidge, if they don't win this one, they don't get to go to the playoffs, even though they beat 2 top 10 teams this year. So this is a really big game for Coolidge. But I went and watched Milford in state last year, and they got a lot of their boys back. And I just think they'll be too much for Coolidge this week. I got Milford 70 and Coolidge 45.
Yes, I got Milford 42, and I got Coolidge 28.
He got a 7-man score football game.
I
man.
know, right?
Well, our last 3 games that we have on tap here in high school
Be
are
our
always district games for us. And we got 3 strong games once again this week. That's the thing about this district is out of the 7 teams, 4 of them have been ranked in the top 10 at least at some point in the year. So this first game is by 2 teams that were ranked in the top 10 earlier in the year, and that's going to be Robinson traveling to Fairfield.
Yeah, and that was another one of those. We've actually been able to see both of those teams play, and I think there's going to be a good contest. Whenever I was sitting here picking them, and Denoris and I were talking about it. Basically, Fairfield's a running team, Robinson's a passing team, and like we brought up, with the weather changing the way it is, it can play a big factor, like we saw last week. And I just feel like the ground game in Fairfield may be what gives the Eagles the edge over the Rockets. And I have Fairfield on top 35-31.
Tough game.
Yes, I got Fairfield on top 35-24.
I looked at this and looked at it, and we've called both games. Mexia played against both of these teams, and that weather's going to make a lot of difference tomorrow night during that game. However, Robinson traveling to Fairfield is a long travel.
Right.
And the winner of this game is going to be in the driver's seat for the number 4 spot tomorrow night Friday night after it's all said and done. And I just think Fairfield's going to be too much at home. I got Fairfield winning this game 42-21. Next up, we have Lorena this week is going to be traveling down to Madisonville. And this is a big game for Lorena because they are 1-3 and Madisonville is 0-4. And if they want any chance of going to the playoffs, Lorena's got to pull this game off. Wallace, what do you think about that game?
I got Lorena coming out on top in this one, 35-21. I think it'll be pretty good. Madisonville seems to play teams close that first half, but I think Lorena will pull away in the second half, and they'll come out on top in this one.
Yes, I got Lorena 30-14.
And I as well have Lorena winning. I've got Lorena pulling this one out 35-21, kind of like you, Wallace. It seems like Madisonville plays everybody that first half really good, and that second half, I got Lorena pulling away to win that game and moving to 2-3 in district. But the big one that's fixing to happen in this district will be happening here at Black Cat Field on Friday night, and we'll have the call for that game at 7:30. And that's going to be the Salado Eagles traveling to the Mexia Black Cats. And this is a big tilt in this district.
Yeah, both teams are coming in 3-1 in the district right now. They're tied for the number 2 spot. They're going to be battling out to see who can take over sole possession of that second spot in the district. And with just 2 weeks left, I was looking at the standings, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jeremy, but I think whoever wins this game can pretty much put a hold on that number 2 spot going into the playoffs.
The winner of this game does cinch a playoff spot.
So, it's going to be big for both teams to come out and, have a great game, do what they need to do to come up with that win. But with that being said, hey, I'm a Mexia Black Cat. I'm going to ride with my Black Cats no matter what. So I have Mexia coming out on top 30-21.
Yes, I got my hair on top 34-24.
I finna say, if he come out with one of them posts on that one, he was fired on Wednesdays from here on out. Well, I talked to some of the boys tonight, as we talked about earlier, and I had a good conversation with Coach Sandoval, and I think he's just going to have them boys ready. And Salado's had a good year. But that drive from Salado and coming over here to Black Cat Field, where that defense has been remnants of the Crunch Bunch back in the day, if Salado comes out and wants to run on Mexia, I just don't see any way it's happening. I've got Mexia pulling this one out and pulling away in the second half, winning this game 35-14, cinching that second spot in district, and getting ready for the playoffs.
Yeah, I'm glad we all came out with the same thing, Mexia on top in this one.
It's a good thing because the head coach still being here might have shot one of us balls out of here.
No, but I mean, with us all being from Mexia, I mean, it's big time, and it's good to be at this point in the season, and there's still so much excitement about the Black Cats. Yeah, Freddie
just had a grandbaby this week, and they had a Black Cat costume on her, so that tells you where she comes from.
Yeah, Freddie still has those Grosbeck ties, but he's in Mexia right now. He's been slowly being transitioned to a Black Cat.
He's the only one wearing a Mexia Black Cat shirt. And I'll tell you what that is. That's his wife, slowly but surely getting him moved in.
So, like we said, this is going to be a good game. We expect for it to be a good game. It's going to be real interesting to see how the Mexia team comes out and goes at Salado. Unless something's changed within the last 3 days, Salado is going to come out and the offense they run, that wing tee, and they're going to just run at you. And, Mexia's defense is going to have to come out and be disciplined and solid and stand up to it. Just looking at some of the previous games and talking to some people from the other towns, Salado, they come out in their offense, they run it, and they slow the game down and hold the ball. So
that's the best way to keep a high-scoring offense off the field is the other team's offense hold on to it. Well, that's going to end all of our high school scores. We're going to take a break and bring it to our sponsors, and we'll come back and do our college football scores and our Dallas Cowboy scores in just a moment. I want to welcome y'all back to Joe Fridays here as we're finishing up our prediction show for this week. Our first college game this week is going to be West Virginia's visiting Baylor. Wallace, what you think about this game?
Well, I'm a Baylor Bear.
Well, I knew.
So, just like I'm loyal to my Black Cats, I'm loyal to my Bears. So, I have Baylor coming out on top, 31-20.
Yes, I got Baylor on top 42-30.
I actually have Baylor pulling this one out too, 35-21. My team went down last week. I ain't scared to say it over there. But we got a big one in 2 weeks, and I'm wanting Baylor to be undefeated when we get there.
Yeah, and talking with it, I have friends, that played at OU and other schools around, and we talk about it all the time. And that was one of the things I said. I want to see us go into the OU game undefeated. And right now we're 7-0 with Oklahoma losing last weekend. It actually put Baylor at the number one spot in the Big 12 by themselves for now. So we want to, like we've been saying all week, with Baylor, we just keep winning. Go one game at a time, and that's kind of the mindset that we hope our Black Cats and the Bears over in Waco are taking right now.
Well, they've been very impressive this year. I always like to see Baylor doing well, being a local guy here. Next game we got Kansas State visiting Kansas, and both of them teams pulled off upsets last week.
Right, and so I'm sitting here and I'm trying to think about it. Well, no, Kansas didn't pull it off. They almost pulled it off.
No, they beat Tech last week, didn't they? And a field goal at the very end of the game.
No, Texas came back and beat them.
Texas
Kansas
that was 2 weeks ago.
Two weeks ago. You're right.
Yeah,
yes,
Texas
yes.
Tech tried a lateral last week.
Yes, you're right.
Play, and Kansas tackled them and kicked the
right,
field
and they
goal
kicked the
with
field
3
goal.
seconds left.
Kansas has been very, very impressive to me. This season. They're usually one of those teams that are at the bottom of the conference, and they've played everybody, tough. And they have Les Miles is there, and he's really kind of seems like he's changing some things around up in Kansas, up at
Lawrence.
in Lawrence, and then you have Kansas State over in Manhattan, and they're solid. They came off a big upset last week as well. So with it being Kansas State versus Kansas, that's that big in-state rivalry game. Some reason I'm feeling a little bit of magic from Les Miles in that game, and I'm gonna go with Kansas on top of K-State. But I think it'll be a close one. I'm gonna go 28-24, Kansas over K-State.
I got the Wildcats over the Jayhawks, 35-20.
Well, Les Miles has improved every program he's went to. That's one thing. He is a good coach. He starts from scratch and builds them up. He built up Oklahoma State, then he moved to LSU, and now he's up in Kansas and he's building a program there. But I don't think he's going to have enough this week. I got Kansas State winning this one by a touchdown over Kansas, 35-28. Our next game, which is the last one in the Big 12 this week, normally they have 4. They only have 3 this week, is TCU traveling to Oklahoma State.
Oh yeah, and TCU's coming off a big win for them. They were able to upset UT on last week, and I think they're going to ride a wave. Oklahoma State's a good team, but I always live by it's hard to go to Stillwater and play. The Bears were able to go up there this year and get a win, but I have Oklahoma State, the Cowboys, coming out on top 35-31 over the Horned Frogs.
Yes, I got Oklahoma State too, 28-21 over the Horned Frogs.
Well, I look at TCU, and they've had a rough year this year, but I seen them grow a little bit in that game last week, and I think TCU is going to follow the momentum and going to go to Stillwater and pull off an upset, 28-21. And that'll end all of our Big 12 scores for this week. The next 2, I just looked, guys, and it was 10 teams. It was Georgia against Florida. And the SEC, I'm going to have a lowest scoring this week, but the SEC scoring just as high as the Big 12 this year if you look at some of their scores.
Yeah, and you have to attribute that to a lot of people going more to the spread offense and kind of the up-tempo. Some people like to call it a run and shoot, but it's more so that just that spread offense and playing quick and trying to put points on the board. we've seen the change with a lot of teams around the country, and it looks like the SEC is starting to get into it as well. There's going to be two tough teams, Georgia and Florida. Florida's played really well this year. Georgia, they've been right back at the top, just as they've been in the past few years. They did drop a game earlier this year, so this was another tough one for me. I actually have Georgia coming out on top 27-24. They're going to be playing at a neutral site, which they call it neutral. And so the crowd should be about 50-50. So I'm going to go with Georgia out on top.
I got Georgia on top 28-27.
Whew.
That's going to be a
Close,
close one.
yeah, I know.
And I think this will be a really close game myself. After watching both teams, neither offense has really moved the ball much against other defenses. And, of course, Georgia's played in some really bad weather games in the last couple of weeks. So I've got Georgia pulling this one out because Georgia can't lose another one and without knocking themselves out of the national championship picture. So I got Georgia pulling this one off 14-10.
Oh,
Old school SEC.
Yeah, smash mouth.
The next one, I normally don't watch, but if you'll watch any Sports Center right now, that's the big show right now. Is everybody's talking about what SMU's doing.
Yeah.
So,
they're undefeated for the first time. Through the first, I think they've maybe played 8 games now. They're 8-0, 7-0 or 8-0. But for the first time since they were the Pony Express was there, and they have some good things going on up in Dallas. I've actually watched 1 or 2 games this season, and I mean they've impressed me. They have a lot of athletes out there. They have some big guys on that defensive line that seem like they just dominate game in, game out in the games that I've watched. I haven't kept up with Memphis very much this season. I know they usually have a pretty good team, but I have SMU getting the win 28-21.
I got SMU winning big 40-21.
well, Memphis is actually ranked a little bit higher. However, what I don't understand is that quarterback SMU was at Texas, and they couldn't do anything with him, and he's gone to SMU, and their head coach come from Houston as the offensive coordinator, and they've just turned him into a gunslinger.
Right.
And every game I've watched, every time you look up, it's a 40, 50, 60-yard pass, and they've got a wide receiver that's in the top 5 in receiving this year
Right.
for SMU. So I've got them pulling this one out 35-30 over Memphis. That'll close out our college scores, and we got one more left, and that's going to be our Cowboys. They didn't play last weekend. When the Cowboys don't play, the weekend just seems so boring.
Well, for me it was the Black Cats got a big win on Friday. My Bears were on a bye this weekend, and then the Cowboys were on a bye. So it was like after Friday, I just wasn't that interested in anything. It's like I'd watch the games, but it didn't have that same kind of pep as it usually has to me. So I'm going to be very excited to see the Bears play Thursday night, the Black Cats play Friday, and then the Cowboys get back to it actually on Monday night
football this week.
So I have to kind of stretch it out Saturday and Sunday this week, but I'll get the Cowboys on Monday night against the Giants. And if you're a Cowboys fan, like I think every one of us here at this table are. There's no way I can pick the Giants right now over the Cowboys. But I think the Cowboys keep rolling off of the win they got in against the Eagles 2 weeks ago, and I have the Cowboys winning 31-20.
I got my Cowboys winning 37-17 over the Giants.
I got it as big as well. I think the addition of Marcus Bennett or Michael Bennett, and if they could have pulled off that trade for that safety, that would have really changed their defense. But I've got the Cowboys pulling this one out 35-14 on Monday Night Football. Well, we want to thank y'all for joining us. Big thank you for Wallace and Denoris and myself and Greer Media Time, and I want to thank Joe Fridays for allowing us to sit up here while they have their business going. Once again, these weeks are going by faster and faster.
Yeah, we want to thank Coach Sandoval and the young men who came, the football players who came and joined in on the show today.
We'll be closing out one more Wednesday night, and we'll be looking to hear from y'all, and y'all listen to us on Friday night at 7:30 from Black Cat Field when the Salado Eagles come flying into Black Cat Land. Thank you.
Tonight's game is brought to you by Greer Time Media, Posey Napa Auto Park, Greer and Greer Mobile Detail, Mookie's Mesquite Patch Barbecue, Woodman Life Insurance, and Joe Fridays.